All right, welcome. Today, we're going to dig into this system that literally built the world we live in, using historian Eric Hobsbawm's work as our map. We're going to explore how an age of incredible freedom and industry also, somehow, became an age of dependency and deep inequality. So this is the big question, right? It's the central paradox of our whole era. You have this system that creates unbelievable wealth and technological wonders, but at the same time, it creates just profound misery and social chaos. How can both of those things be true at once? This quote just nails the shock of this new industrial world. Back in 1835, a visitor to Manchester, which was the absolute heart of the Industrial Revolution, saw this contradiction with his own eyes. Pure gold flowing from a filthy sewer. He realized this wasn't a bug in the system. Oh no, it was a feature. Miracles and brutality, right there, side by side. So how do we even begin to understand how this happened? Well, to get a handle on it, we have to grasp Hobsbawm's core concept, what he calls the dual revolution. He says this was the engine that completely forged our world between 1789 and 1848, a period he calls the greatest transformation in human history since we invented agriculture. I mean, think about that. And here's the key. This wasn't two separate events just happening at the same time by coincidence. Hobsbawm's analogy is perfect. Think of it like one massive volcanic eruption, but with two epicenters, one in Britain and one in France. The shockwaves from this single colossal upheaval just radiated outwards and changed the entire planet. Okay, so let's break these two forces down. Think of it like this. France provided the political and ideological software for the modern world. It gave us the very language we use: liberalism, democracy, nationalism. Britain, on the other hand, provided the economic hardware. It gave us the railways, the factories, the raw material explosive force that just cracked open old societies. You had ideas and industry working together to remake everything. So there you have it. That's the formal definition. It's that precise moment when these two huge forces, the political and the economic, fused together. And what they created was basically the operating system for the modern world, a society built on capitalism and bourgeois liberal ideas. Okay, so how did this new system actually work? How did it manage to completely rewire society? I mean, what were the nuts and bolts that took apart the old world and built this new one? Well, it pretty much happened in a clear sequence. First, you legally dismantle the old feudal world. Suddenly, land isn't tied to tradition anymore. It's just a simple commodity you can buy and sell. This process uprooted millions of people, turning them into a mobile workforce that had to work for wages to survive. And the new logic driving everything was crystal clear. Maximizing private profit was now the prime directive of the entire economy. A really useful way to picture how this system operates is to think of it as a relentless pressure engine. It's a machine designed for one single purpose: constant, never-ending growth. And this engine, it runs on three key inputs, the very things we just saw get created. You've got land, which is now just a resource to be exploited. You've got labor, which is now a mobile, wage-dependent workforce. And you've got capital, which is wealth that exists only to be reinvested to make more profit. The whole system is designed to just constantly churn these inputs into output. And this brings us right back to the paradox we started with. The output of this engine is by its very nature split in two. On one side, you get unprecedented growth, incredible wealth, amazing technology. But on the other side, you get a deeply vulnerable working class, you get skyrocketing social inequality, and you get these recurring inherent economic crises. They aren't separate things. They're produced at the same time by the exact same process. And here's the crucial point, the absolute kicker. This engine cannot stand still. It just can't. To release the immense pressure of its own internal contradictions, things like overproduction or social unrest, it has to constantly expand. It has to find new markets, new resources, new territories to conquer, just to absorb that pressure and keep itself stable. So what happened when this pressure engine, with its heart in Britain and France, was finally unleashed on the rest of the planet? I mean, just look at this data. It's absolutely staggering. Look at the explosion in British cotton exports to what they called underdeveloped areas. Exports to these colonial markets went up almost 7 times in just 20 years. And this wasn't just friendly trade. This was a complete structural transformation. Take India, for example. It was a traditional exporter of cotton goods, but it was systematically deindustrialized to become a captive market for British textiles. And the result of all this? A completely new global order. As Hobsbawm puts it, this era established a kind of global domination by a handful of Western powers, led by Britain, that had absolutely no parallel in history. The merchants, the steam engines, the guns of the West, they remade the entire world in their own image. And this, right here, is maybe the most profound, the most lasting legacy of the dual revolution. It created the fundamental economic division of our planet into the advanced countries and the underdeveloped ones, a division that has defined global politics and economics pretty much ever since. So let's pull all these threads together now. What is the crisis in perception that Hobsbawm's analysis is really showing us? How does it completely change the way we look at this pivotal moment in history? The common view is to see this period as one of technological progress, and all the social problems were just sort of an unfortunate side effect. But Hobsbawm's systemic view reveals something totally different. This was a deep structural upheaval where progress and inequality are not separate outcomes. They are two sides of the exact same coin, produced by the very design of the system. And that is the solution to the paradox we started with. And that brings us to our final thought. The core logic of this system, this relentless pressure for growth, the creation of dependencies, the generation of both incredible wealth and terrible instability, that logic is still very much with us. So the question it really leaves for us is, where can we see the pressures of this engine at work in our world today?